Hello there. I am here to talk about Starfleet Academy. We're going to go over the episode that came out recently, and we're just going to jump right into it. So let's start off with this first episode. This episode starts off with Anisha, Mir, and her son Caleb. They have this secret code between them, which is, I guess, a bunch of moon names. They want a ship of their own so that they can go to Earth and see it together. She explains that Noose Braca is a pirate who helped her get food because they are starving, or were starving apparently. First off here, between the mother and daughter, or mother and son, can't understand the kid. He's very hard to understand. A lot of the dialogue is like that in this whole show. So right off the bat, not a great way to start. So Anisha and her son and Noose Braca are brought before Nala Akine, Captain Nala Akine. I'm going to call her Captain Mushmouth from now on because I can't understand a word that she's saying. No shade against Holly Hunter, but she was a very terrible pick for this character. And again, can't understand her half the time because her mouth is doing one of these. But anyway, so they go stand before Captain Mushmouth, and she explains that Anisha and Braca, they brought down a Federation supply vessel, and they killed the shuttle pilot to steal food rations. Now Braca, he says that he was just helping a starving woman to feed her kid, but Mushmouth says that he and Anisha are accomplices. They say that 12 people have been killed so far by the Venari Ral, which Mushmouth, she pronounces it Ralal because her mouth, apparently. And because he's a man, I guess, she sentences Braca to life in a penal colony. But despite being an accomplice to him, she only gives Anisha felony theft, and she says she's going to place her in a rehabilitation camp, which is Captain Mushmouth's alternative to prison, where she still gets visitation rights to her son. And I'm not exactly sure why she doesn't get the same punishment that Braca gets, but it's probably because she's a woman and women are always right in this show or something. I have no clue. Caleb, he is going to end up becoming a ward of the Federation, and everybody acts like this is a bad thing. Obviously, it's never a good thing for a kid to have to go through being put in the system or whatever, becoming a ward of anything. But this is like 800 years after the Star Trek future that we all kind of grew to love in the past. So I'm not exactly certain as to why this is such a bad thing. Let me click through here real quick and show just a little bit. So yeah, this is them talking and how they're like, oh, we're gonna find a planet out there. This is Caleb's little bear. So yeah, they're on this place. It's an outpost. They have him in this collar, which it's not really locked down to anything. I mean, that's just his shirt under there. And for some reason, he's I don't know if he's like, if that collar is locked down to his shirt or not, but it looks like it can easily slip off his neck, but they pull him around on that like he's like firmly attached to it. Captain Mushmouth here. So Caleb become a ward of the Federation, but his mom will still have visitation rights. And like she'll still be able to see him, so I'm not exactly sure why this is like a really terrible thing. I mean, she and Braca killed somebody, so like she should get the same treatment as Braca, so I really don't understand. But Braca, he gets taken away, and he yells, "This is not justice." And I'm kind of on his side because he gets put in a penal colony, and she gets taken to in a rehabilitation camp, which is Captain Mushmouth's alternative to prison, because she says, Anisha says, well, I thought we had a deal. And it's like, so why was she working out a deal for Anisha, but not Braca? Whatever. I don't know. It seems like favoritism to me, but I don't know. So, one thing that kind of gets me here. Okay, this isn't the best view of it, but she's got 4 different like rank things on her. She's got 2 on her shoulders, 1 on her collar, and 1 on her badge. Each one has the 4 pips of a captain, which is, I mean, it's way too many way too many rank signifiers, really. But I mean, I guess she forgets what her rank is or something, because I don't know. Anyway, her kid gets taken away, or not taken away, but he gets placed in this room, and Mushmouth goes to see him in the room, and she tells him that he's going to be on Bajor in a classroom with other kids with lots of food, and so they end up hugging, and after he hugs her, he's like, oh, can you go get my bear, because I dropped it in the room. And so she's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go get your bear. And she gets all the way there and then realizes that her comm badge is missing. And she evidently somehow figures out that Caleb took it. And so she runs back to the room. When she gets there, Caleb has used the badge to open up this panel. He holds it right up next to the panel. And it says, oh, Nala Akini, this is you. And the panel opens. He opens up the window and he goes out of it. And so by the time Captain Mushmouth gets there, the portal is open. She grabs her badge and holds it like a foot away, and it still opens this panel, even though the kid put it right up against. So I don't know how it works. And I'm not sure how she has made it through the rest of the colony, because your badge, well, it used to be, your badge is what got you in and out of doors and stuff. Like, it knew who you were via your badge. And if it acted like a way to open a panel in a room, then it probably opens as a way to open the doors in the rest of the place. So I'm not sure how she got around, but for some reason, even though he's only like 6 years old, the camera pans out and shows this giant dust storm. And it's like, how did this little kid get away? It's just silly, because he's not only is he 6 years old, but there's a like a level 3 dust storm or sandstorm going on, and he gets away completely. They lose track of him for the next 15 years. It fast forwards to 15 years later. Caleb is now 21, and he's being taken to the Vrillic penal colony, which I don't know if this is the same penal colony that he's found at later, but it sure looks the same. But this is called the Vrillic penal colony, and on the ship that they're taking him to, they have to scan him for some reason. They send this little flying robot back to where he is, and he's all hooded in this like hoodie of some sort, and this little robot, which is basically just an exposition tool, it explains that he's been in and out of prison, or in and out of trouble for various things. It says that at age 8 he was in for petty theft, at 12 he was in for destruction of property, 14 he was in for vandalism, at 18 he was in for illegal trading, and at 20 he was in for transport of illegal materials. So he's done a lot of crime. He's a criminal, and I wouldn't say any of that is really like, I wouldn't say those are lesser crimes, because like when you're 8 and 12, like, okay, petty theft and destruction of property, kids sometimes do that. But then when you're 18, you're illegally trading, which that could be anything. Materials, it could be weapons, it could be illegal drugs. And then at 20 it says he was transporting illegal materials, which again could be anything. Could be drugs, could be people, could be weapons, literally anything. And it's kind of an eyebrow raiser, to me anyway. So as he's sitting there, one of the guards that's sitting across from him in this like contained room by force fields a guard asks him if he's alive or dead, and he doesn't respond. And so the guard comes up to him and tases him, and is like, "Are you alive or dead?" And he finally says he is, but he cusses. He says the S word, which it's like I hate the fact that they're still using expletives in Star Trek, but I mean it's not my show, so whatever. So they tase him, and he gets snarky about being tased, and then when they go to do it again, he ends up biting one of the guard's ears, and he gets loose somehow, like his manacles come off, and he fights both the guards, and he presses the face of one of them into the force field, which causes the force field to fall, which seems counterintuitive to its purpose, and we've never seen anything like that. But I mean, I guess 800 years past the original Star Trek, technology is just either weird or doesn't work right or something, but whatever, I don't know. So he ends up fighting the pilot of the ship, and he asks the ship computer to search for his mom, essentially. And the ship starts crashing. The guard tries to stop him, but he fights and he regains control of the ship. And finally, the ship's computer says that it can't find her. She's not out there, and he's all mad about it. The penal colony that he's going to comes to the comm and says that he'll be destroyed if he doesn't comply and turn off the shields and turn off the engine and stuff. So he's like, "Destroy me!" But I guess they decide just to not do that, and they don't give him that option. They just tractor beam him onto their ship, and then the opening of the show plays, and it's very lackluster. The song is like not memorable. It's kind of just nothing. They show this flag, and it's just kind of bland. It's like $300 million per episode, and it's just kind of like a little bit of an orchestral thing, and it's just boring, which is kind of a theme for this whole show. So they jump to Bajor, and Captain Mushmouth is now teaching kids, and she's actually teaching these two kids to be deceptive and to negotiate when they do something wrong, apparently. And it says that she's working at the Little Blooms Early Education Center, and she's not with Starfleet anymore. So after she finishes with these two kids, you get to see this guy. This is Admiral Charlie Vance from Vance Refrigeration, and he ends up saying that, "Oh, you look good and everything," and she's like, "Well, when you're 422, you learn a thing or five." The whole while she's mumbling about it. So they walk and talk, and she eats 2 ice cream cones, and Admiral Charlie Vance from Vance Refrigeration tells her that Starfleet Academy is being recommissioned, and they want her as the Chancellor now that the burn is over. And the burn, I guess everybody knows this, is when an alien cried so hard about his mom that all the dilithium in the galaxy exploded and nobody could go to warp anymore. So for 120 years, they've been trying to figure out how to do things. And apparently Starfleet fell apart. I guess they didn't try to rebuild their ships to try to do stuff. They just kind of gave up. And now, 120 years later, Starfleet Academy is returning to San Francisco, and they want her to be the Chancellor and Captain, which I guess we'll get to that in a few minutes. But anyway, she eats 2 ice cream cones and tells him no. She says that she doesn't want it, and that she's not the guy for the job. And she says that the reason is because she separated a child from its parent, which she really wasn't doing. She was having someone pay for their crimes, which comes with punishments. And if they, really wanted to stay out of prison and not be separated from their child, they would have just not done that. But I guess women are exempt from punishment in this galaxy now. 800 years in the future, women have everything they've ever wanted, I guess. But she resigned from Starfleet because she felt like she and it wasn't living up to their principles. So Admiral Vance from Vance Refrigeration tells her, as she knows, I should say, that she's part lanthanite, which is another new species, and they live for several hundred years. And he says that she was there when Starfleet was at its best, and she's the best person to show the incoming kids at Starfleet what it really means to be in Starfleet. Not really sure why she's the best person to be Chancellor and Captain, and she even feels the same and refuses the call to action because apparently someone in this show has to have a hero's arc. But he tells her that Caleb is still alive and that maybe she can keep her promise to him or something, to which she is like, okay, yeah, I'll do it now because Caleb's still out there. So in this prison, it's a Tarothan prison on Vrillik, I assume. Mushmouth goes to see Caleb in prison, and he's being held by these guards. He's got like a muzzle on him. Let's see if I can find a picture. He's got a muzzle on him, and they're like, oh, he's a biter, or he'll bite, or whatever. And she's like, take all that stuff off of him. And so they take it off, and they leave the room, and she basically tells him, oh, you should join Starfleet with me. She says that he hacked the Imperial security system, and that he has a one-of-a-kind mind, and that she's been looking for him for the past 15 years, which isn't really true because when we saw her, she was on Bajor teaching kids, so she apparently stopped searching at some point and just decided to teach other kids about the world or the galaxy or something, because I don't know, that was just a complete lie. So let's see. So as she's talking, he gets up and he walks over to her, and it just shows how tiny she really is. Like, look at this. She's just literally so small. Like, and they always try to keep her in the foreground to minimize the fact how small she is, but she's so tiny. She's just so small. It's just like, captains, I understand you can do a thing where, you know, you've got somebody who's small and diminutive, but they come across as powerful and like they have command of the room. It's been done many times, but this ain't it. This is just not it. So she explains more that the Toroth, where he's being kept, has a treaty where low-level offenders can commute their rehabilitation sentences into service with Starfleet, which apparently means that criminals can now join Starfleet, along with the good, upstanding citizens of the galaxy who just want to serve with duty and honor and integrity, alongside these criminals who have none of that. It's just to get out of prison, essentially. And again, I don't think the things that he's done are really low-level offender level stuff. I think that's like if you went into Starfleet and you're there to make it a career and be a person who is proud of who you are and where you come from and your species or whatever, and you have to serve next to a guy who the only reason he got in is because he was in prison for something in his rehabilitation place, and you know, is a criminal, and he's just there to serve out a sentence by serving, essentially. I feel like that's just a conflict of interest. Now, I know that Tom Paris was in a rehabilitation place in like Australia or something, but I feel like that's a little bit different because he wasn't like a hardened criminal who had been in and out of prison. It's more of like community service or something. And in this penal colony where he's at, she had just explained that the Torothians, they if you steal, they cut off your fingers one by one. and then they cut off your hand, and then they cut off your arm, and it's like they do all that in the most painful way possible. So it's like people who go and do that, or who are worthy of that type of punishment for a crime, are going to be serving in Starfleet alongside good upstanding people who just want to have the honor of being there. And usually Starfleet picks the best of the best anyway. He's clearly not the best of the best. He's a criminal. So regardless, he's basically getting in because also he knows her. Captain Mushmouth is essentially just getting him in because of nepotism. And then she tells him that his mom broke out of the prison that she was in 1 year prior, and that she can help him find her. And so, of course, he's like, oh, okay, fine, I'll do it because I want to help my mom. Or I want to find my mom. So, after all that, which all this stuff sounds like it's so involved, but like these scenes just trudge on, like just nothing. I don't know, it's slow, even though like a lot is happening. So anyway, we move to a transport, and she's thumbing through her bridge officers, like just doing, like there's just a thing in front of her and she's flipping through, like it's not connected to anything. It's not like on a little piece of a thing that she's holding and it's popping up. She's just going like this, and these different fact files about her bridge crew, like the one lady in the picture there is her number one, and she's thumbing through other people, and it just doesn't make sense as to why it's in front of her like that, where it's coming from. And I know this is 800 years in the future, that's fine, but like that still has to be tied to something. I feel like it's just silly. As they're heading to the academy, she says that Caleb's going to need a regulation haircut, and he's like, oh, it's never happening. He also says that he's not a sheep, which it's like, what? Is that phrase still around? That's such a modern thing to say. Oh, I'm not a sheep. This is 800 years past Star Trek, which was already like 200 years in the future. So I feel like sayings like that are just not going to be around. And also that makes him just wonderful Academy material to say, oh, I'm not a sheep. It's like, well, then why did you agree? It's just very silly. So it shows the Athena finally in its full glory, I guess, if you want to call it, which the ship is actually kind of cool looking. It's that design where there's like a lot of negative space, like those pieces that come up and are touching that middle part, they retract, and like the middle just kind of hovers in the middle, while the ring around it is more of like a I guess those are engines and other things, but I think it's an interesting design for a ship, but it doesn't make sense to me. Again, I know it's 800 years in the future past Star Trek, but like I feel like it would cause more problems to have everything detached, like the propulsion system detached from the inner ring, because the inner ring is what actually separates from the outer ring and goes down to the planet when they actually get to Earth. But we'll get there. But again, it's a weirdly designed ship, but it's not awful. And then they go inside, and you hear Stephen Colbert's godforsaken voice, and he's the digital dean of the school, and I hate his voice so much. He's an idiot in real life, and I don't know why he's on this show, but here we are. He says that the mess hall is open, and that sometimes Hanger is the worst enemy of all. It's like, I want to kill myself when I hear that. Again, I don't think the word hangry or hanger would be a thing 800 years. No, I'm not even going to say 800 years anymore. 1,000 years past where we are right now. I don't think it's going to be a thing, but that's just me. So it pans around. You see a bunch of other students. So if you look, we'll do this. So right here you have a robot, And then right here you have a girl wearing a head covering of some kind. How can I say this delicately? It seems counterintuitive to have Starfleet, which is an entity that is tolerant of other cultures, but then you have a cadet who is wearing a head covering, and cultures that make their women wear head coverings are not known for being very tolerant. So you would think that, like, if you join Starfleet, you wouldn't come from a culture that makes you wear a head covering. I know it's a religious thing somewhat, or in some cultures I guess it is, but I just don't see how that would be a thing. Again, 1,000 years into the future. But I digress. It's their show. They can put that in there, but it implies a lot of weird stuff. There's lots of robots here as well. I'm not exactly sure if I like that. And they're not androids like Data. They are like robots that are like, I'm here to serve. My name is PX3I912 whatever, and it just I don't know. I'm trying to find something that I like about the show, and I like robots, but okay, whatever. We'll move on. So then you have this lady walk up. She's number one to Captain Mushmouth. I'm going to call her Ozem Hadar because she's chunky, and I don't think she would have been able to make it through Starfleet because she's fat. Now, I know I'm not the thinnest person ever, but I'm not in Starfleet. I'm not going to a military academy to learn how to be in fit shape, and I'm really not that smart. But this character is supposed to have done all that, and I can't see it. I've never seen a drill instructor who's fat or chubby in any way, shape, or form. So, Ozem Hadar, she says that Captain Mushmouth's quarters were redesigned to her specifications, which I can only assume she needed everything to be smaller because she's so tiny. But I don't know. They don't show her quarters in this show. Not yet, anyway. Caleb ends up saying that he's like, "Nuh-uh, I'm not wearing a uniform." And Ozem Hadar turns and says that she's like, "Oh, I am Laura Thok, daughter of Asmaret, from the Klingon house of Dak Hatas and the Jem'Hadar lineage of Ka-Baj," which means absolutely nothing to anybody watching. You can look it up, and it only is referenced in this show. And it's like, you couldn't reference a house on the Klingon homeworld that actually is still, like, people would know about, or like a Jem'Hadar whose name actually meant something. And I know there's all sorts of talk about her not being able to exist because the Jem'Hadar were, I guess they were sexless. There was no, like, indication that they didn't have, parts, but they were all men. And she says that she's both Klingon and Jem'Hadar. So it stands to reason that, like, her dad was a Jem'Hadar and her mom, I guess, is a Klingon. Maybe. It's not really clarified, but that's what we can assume. But again, those things that she said, the Klingon house of Dak Hatas is nothing. And the lineage of Jem'Hadar of Ka-Baj, again, means nothing. I don't know what Ka means, but maybe Baj means Bajor from the area that they were from. I don't know. It just means nothing. But somehow she bullies Caleb into doing push-ups, and Captain Mushmouth just smiles and laughs at it. This is when she's yelling at him, making her faces. So she gets him to go down doing push-ups, and the Klingon of the show, I'm going to call him Soft Boy Klingon. Well, his name's Jaden, but I'll end up calling him Jaden as well. But for right now, I'm going to call him Soft Boy Klingon, because even though his voice is really deep and he talks like a Klingon, he sees blood and he's like, oh no. It just, He's a wuss. He walks past, and Ozem Hadar tells him to put his bag on Caleb's back as he does push-ups. And they're like, hey, what? You're a Klingon. She says, oh, why don't you want to die in battle or whatever, boy? And he's like, oh, I long for a valiant life. It's like, okay, I don't know what a valiant life means, as opposed to, like, wouldn't dying in battle be valiant? I don't know. Anyway, so he finally gets up. Caleb finally gets up, and they're told to go upstairs and get registered and everything, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of make friends, and they get up top, and this thing in yellow asks Caleb where he wants to go, and he's like, sciences. So he goes off and disappears through a portal. Caleb goes up, and he's like, oh, I'm undecided. So the thing is like, okay, just go ahead and go through the portal. He steps through the portal, and he just automatically has a uniform, and his hair's cut, and he's shaven, and he looks like a normal person. And Jaden looks at him after he's gotten his trimmed look. Before he had a longer beard and his hair was longer. So I guess it just knows that Klingons should have long hair, and that they should have a trim beard, but not like they can keep their beard, but it can't have long dangly bits. It's just got to be like a really trim beard, but they can keep their long hair. But apparently Caleb can't. And they do the stupid, oh mother, and they stop, and they do it for laughs, but it's really not funny. It's just like, it's like that same thing where it's like they're looking at the camera going, isn't that funny that he said the F word, or he was going to? It's just stupid. So jump to, everybody's getting a physical, and the doctor is there from Voyager, and he calls Caleb pouty, and Caleb is like, oh, I don't need a shot, essentially. But they scan him, and it says that he's got lung maggots in his lower bowel, which it almost sounds like the doctor is making like a gay joke. Like how did you get lung maggots in your lower bowel? And he's like, whatever. And he gives him a shot, and he's like, well, you're cured of them. And he's like, pay attention to your stool from now on. Call me if anything moves. Then he's like, actually, don't call me. And again, it almost sounds like he's making a dig at like something to do with his butt, which sounds gay to me, but I don't know. It's just, it's wrong. That's all I know. So the next person walks up, and it's this girl. It's this girl. She walks up, and she says she thinks she swallowed her comm badge, which is it's just insane that A, it happened, and B, this girl is the one that they show, which, again, she's not fit. And I know going in, you're not fit. Anytime you go into like basic training, whatever, people can be fit, but they're usually not fit. But this she's bordering on the edge of like fat. And it's like, it's wild that they show the fat girl who swallowed her comm badge. It's just it's stupid. It's very stupid. It's not even a funny joke. I think I swallowed my comm badge. How do you think you swallow your comm badge? How do you swallow your comm badge? Like, look, I know this is the wrong badge for the show, but like, how does it go from here to, and then you swallow it? What does that even mean? I think I swallowed my comm badge. It's just stupid. Anyway, the doctor, he's like, already? Which is weird. It's like, you already swallowed it? Like, what do you mean already? You should just be like, are you stupid? Get this person out of here. They're not worth being in Starfleet if they're swallowing their comm badge. It's very dumb, guys. It's very dumb. So we finally see the bridge, and we get a close-up of Captain Mushmouth's uniform finally, or a better view, I should say, because you could see it before. But if you notice, on both her shoulders she's got a rank identifier. It's got 2 lines and like the 4 pips of a captain. She's got 2 on her collar, which have the same thing. 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, and then she's got on her badge, her comm badge, it's got 4 pip identifiers on there. So now she's got 5, whereas before she had 4. She had 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and now she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a lot, and nobody else has that. It's very strange. And I know she's the she's the chancellor of the whole school and the captain of the ship, but like, come on, like, it's just a lot. It's overkill. It's very much overkill. So she gets to meet her bridge crew, and it starts off with this guy. This guy's name is Dandrid. I don't know if I'm able to get all of them. Well, you've got Dandrid, Dandruff, and then you've got a white guy, his name is Thriss. You've got this lady whose name is Atlee. And when I saw her, I immediately thought, what's wrong with your face? And then you've got, not her. You've got another guy, his name is Haley. And you've got this lady, her name is Yah. It's just Yah. Lieutenant Yah. And then you've got Ensign Weldu, which is the Asian guy back there behind her. And then she says that on the bridge they're gonna have this lady. Her name is Lieutenant Rourke, and she's another large person who somehow made it past the intense physical training of Starfleet. And she's the academic liaison to find teachable moments for the students. And I'm sure she won't let anyone miss breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So anyway, Mushmouth, she sits in her chair and she looks extremely tiny, sitting in her tiny little baby chair. Well, actually, she looks like a tiny baby sitting in a giant chair for somebody else. And the chair basically says, oh, put in your comfort levels. And she immediately starts like shifting the chair up and down to try to find, like, to make it to where her feet don't just barely touch the floor. Then they become level with the floor, and like she can sit like a normal person. But it doesn't matter that she did all that, because the rest of the episode she sits with her feet up in the chair like a cat, which is, again, how are you supposed to look at a person like that and go, you're the commander of this vessel, I respect you. I don't know how. I couldn't do it, but whatever. So she asks for a channel to be open to the whole school. She addresses everyone and tells them that she explains the motto of Starfleet Academy, which is Ad Astra per Aspera, which means through difficulties to the stars. And she says that she knows that the students know that they know that difficulty more than most, because they've gone through the burn. They've had to struggle past all these bad things that have happened. And I can only think that this was put in the show because the burn and everything that came afterward is like a post-Trump allegory or something. Like, oh, you've been through the worst stuff ever. And young people, you're inheriting a world that you just don't know what to do with, but you have to bring it back. And I can't help but think that that's kind of what the writers were going for, because they think the Earth is ruined because he's in power right now. And I'm not saying I'm for him or anything, but it's just a funny thing that they put in the show. I don't know. Anyway, she explains through a mouthful of peanut butter that the entire galaxy will be their classroom, but she mumbles so much that it almost sounds like she says the galaxy will be their flashlight because of all the peanut butter. And then she sits back down in the chair with her legs underneath her, like a baby, like a child. She sits down with her legs underneath her like a child. A tiny child. like a very small child. Which, you know what, they should have just gone all in and made her like a tiny person. That would have at least been an interesting concept to introduce into the show, but they wussed out on it, I guess. And then they go to warp, and they're headed for Earth. Oh wait, you know what? I'm sorry, she meets the captain. Or she meets the doctor, and then she sits down. There it is. I knew it was there somewhere. She meets the doctor, and it's nice to see him back, because he slips right back into the role of the doctor pretty easily, and it's pretty good to see him, you know, back in that role again. But I have my problems with him too. So anyway, in the hallways somewhere, the hologram girl, her name's Sam, she's trying to say hi to people, but she's just like shooting it at them. She's like, hi, hello, nice to meet you, and nobody's responding to her. But then she starts saying it in different languages, and that girl in the very background is the only person who responds to her. She tells her that her name is Genesis, and Genesis basically tells her that one of the language she said was her favorite dead language. It's like, okay, so this girl knows dead languages, and so does the hologram. Okay, they're all smart. Whoop-de-doo. Then Sam says a whole bunch of crap back to her that I couldn't understand her. She was just saying it either so fast or she mumbles, but I had to put subtitles on because I couldn't understand it. But she said something about becoming friends. But as they're talking, the soft boy Klingon, he bumps into her, and he drops his binoculars for some reason. I don't know why he has binoculars with him on. Well, I mean, I guess if they know they're going to Earth, he would bring his binoculars, because he drops them, and then this guy, his name's Darem, he picks him up and starts making fun of him. And then Caleb walks up, and he's like, "Oh, are you making fun of him? We should fight." But the doctor appears and breaks it up, and he's like, "Oh, you guys need to get back to your stuff, get back to your classes, or whatever." And he interrupts the only real exciting thing to happen in the first 33 minutes of this show, and he ends that forced drama because reasons. So Sam, she's awestruck by the doctor. Jaden gets his binoculars back, and he states that he likes to watch birds because his mommy showed him the beauty in things. And he appreciates the fact that Caleb helped him out. And he says something in Klingon. He's like, block, 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 block. And he says, a warrior does not let a friend face danger alone. And the way they play it, it's almost like I can't tell if they're trying to make them out to be friends or potential lovers, but it's probably the latter. So in the atrium, Sam is walking around, and she sees the doctor. He's trying to get people to join the Opera Society, stating that it's full of murder, betrayal, and self-die. And so Sam introduces herself, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're a hologram, right?" And she's like, "I very much am." And he's like, "You're like the first species of hologram to ever be here, right?" And she says, "Yes." He's like, "Well, can I ask like what your whole deal is?" And she says that she was programmed to feel 17, but she's actually only just over 4 months old and is from the planet Kask, and there's a colony of holograms living there somehow. And then after that, literally nothing of value is said in the conversation that follows. It goes on for like another minute and a half of them talking, and the doctor basically just says that he's not a mentor, even though he's literally a mentor in the show. So whatever. Then it cuts to Caleb. He's apparently in an instructor's area, and he hacks or bypasses the terminal, and he somehow finds a way to bypass the communication subsystems, and he begins searching through a certain frequency using the code that his mom and him shared, and turns out, like, even though she escaped from prison, she didn't send him any messages after she got out using this, like, coded frequency that they have. So he opens a channel and he starts to, like, record a message to send to her via that channel. He says that he's, like, scared and he's going to Earth and he wanted to do it with her, but then all of a sudden he gets caught by Genesis, this girl, and she's like, oh, I'm pretty sure hacking into an instructor terminal is a violation or something. But then she says she's not going to rat him out until she needs something from him. And there's sexual tension there, but again, nothing of value is said. They just basically meet. It's their meet cute, because sure, why not? Skip ahead, and the ensign Asian guy, which again, she's sitting in her chair like this, very uncomfortably. I don't know how she's sitting like that. It doesn't look comfortable. The chair doesn't look comfortable to do that in, and I can't tell why they let her do this. Ensign guy, he detects something. He's like, oh, there might be an ion storm in our path. And then the Ozem Hadar lady says that she can provide context. She says that they're really close to the Badlands and that subspace instability might be creeping in, whatever that means, and that they could chart it. And then Lieutenant Fat comes over and she's like, oh, it could be a practical study module for the Special Harmonics Lab. And then they drop out of warp and they start their sensing. Once they drop out, this guy, the guy in yellow, he says that tachyon interference is popping up or something, and which tachyons refer to, like, time and, like, not quantum stuff, but it's like you could say tachyon particles come about when Q sends them back in time or something. It's like, oh, you could detect the tachyon particles or something. So I don't really know what it means when they start sensing, like, these things, which when they come out of warp, there's like an asteroid field, and the asteroids, like, break apart and there's, like, mines or something in them, and I guess that's the tachyon field or tachyon interference that pops up. So Mushmouth says to shoot them all as they're coming towards him, and they just don't shoot or do anything. They just let, like, 10 or 15 of these things hit the ship, which blow up. They destroy part of the ship, and it starts putting all this red glowy stuff all over the ship. So the Ozem Hadar, she teleports away, and then everyone's ordered to their quarters, and the Ozem Hadar, she screams to everybody, even though I don't think she could run as fast as they were. She's screaming at them to, like, run, get to your quarters, why are you jogging? And it's like, you can't jog, what are you talking about? Anyway, so Caleb, Jaden, the doctor, and Ozem Hadar, they all notice that the red stuff is spreading on the windows, and they're like, oh no, what are we gonna do? So Dandrid says that the red stuff is programmable matter, and this guy, the guy in yellow, he says that it's the type that they've never seen before, and that it's draining power out of the ship. And then all of a sudden, a spiky green bad guy ship appears. Turns out it's the Venari Raw that was mentioned at the very beginning, the pirates, I guess. And it's all green and bad, and I guess it's green because bad guys, I guess, I don't know. They can't fire back because the programmable matter has shut down systems, and somebody says that the enemy ship is at 320 degrees Mark II, which, if you know anything about Star Trek, I guess you do. 320 degree, or the degrees part, there's a 360 degree circle around the ship, okay? If you say 320, that would mean that at 360 would be right in front of you, or 1, essentially. It would be 360 and then 1. Or, well, I guess 359 and then 1, which is right in front of you. So 320 would be like here, okay? It'd be like just off the port side, and 2 would be like 2 degrees up. So it should be in front of them and up. But the bad guy's ship is right directly behind them. So they should have said 180 degrees Mark II, if anything. So it's almost like they don't know what they're talking about, huh? So the ship gets absolutely demolished with more fire, and Mushmouth calls for power to the forward shields, even though, again, the ship is behind them. So I don't think they know what they're talking about. So the ship gets wrecked. A bunch of people get hurt, and Genesis, she wakes up from, I guess, getting knocked out, which should cause her to like have a concussion or something, but she's fine. Jaden and Caleb are there, and it turns out that Ozem Hadar has this plating that has fallen on her, and they help take it off of her, and they realize that she's been stabbed in her side. And Darem, the guy who was acting like a dick earlier, he's there too, and they all work together to get her over to like the instructor's station that Caleb was at earlier. Caleb says he can kill off the programmable matter with a link to the bridge, and Sam ends up using her hollowness to like put her arm on the wall, and she's like, let there be light, and there's like light on the walls so they can see what they're doing finally, which okay. So they get to the instructor's terminal, and the Ozem Hadar is like talking everybody through how to like help her get better. And she has the Klingon kid, she has him basically starts triage, and Caleb starts working on the computer to try to hack his way into the stuff to fix the thing. So as they're standing there, it cuts to the bridge, and all of a sudden Braca appears. He's a hologram, and he starts interacting with the ship, even though he's not physically there. He's on his ship, but for some reason he can interact with the ship like he's really there. Again, I know it's 1,000 years in the future, but he's still a hologram. And at one point he even touches Captain Mushmouth's nose, and then she blows him away. And I just don't understand, but he basically says that payback's a B word. He basically says that he's there because he wants their warp drive. And he says that Captain Mushmouth is super sadistic for what she's done with Caleb. First she separated him from his mom, and then she puts a uniform on him and makes him go into Starfleet, all for the hopes to try to find his mom. And he's like, that's pretty sadistic even for me, which I kind of agree with. It's like, she wasn't like separating him from his mom, she was trying to get his mom to like have some accountability, and like apparently women can't have accountability in the Star Trek universe anymore because reasons, I guess, I don't know, but it is kind of sick for her to like first say, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna help you out, or I'm gonna make you suffer, and then I'm gonna help you out later because I feel guilty about it. But hey, whatever. So, or he explains over the intercom again, because the whole ship can hear. He explains that what drew him there is the signal that Caleb sent out to his mom earlier, because he used that code, that secret code. It's an old style code like that, and he picked it up, and he ended up figuring out that it was the Athena, and that not only was Caleb on the ship, but so was Captain Mushmouth. It makes Darem mad, and he punches Caleb in the face, and they kind of fight over it. And it's like, okay, whatever. So as Braca's talking to her, let's see, she ends up explaining, okay, well, if you want our warp drive, I'm gonna have to get everybody out of there, and that's gonna take a few minutes. So if you'll give me time to get everybody out of there, I'll let you go in, because you're gonna have to start hacking through stuff, and if you're gonna do it that way, then like, you probably don't want to ruin anything, because then the warp drive is gonna sell for much less, because he said he wants to sell the warp drive. So she's like trying to negotiate with him, and he's like, "Oh, this is all a trap. So you better not screw with me on this." And so she flops back down in her chair. Like literally, she flops down, and he gets in her face, and he touches her nose, and then she goes, whew, and she blows him away. And he's like, "Okay, well, I'll wait for you to evacuate engineering, but don't play any games with me." He says that he's going to take the warp drive, or else he's going to blow up everybody and kill everybody. So tension, I guess. Once he leaves, Caleb explains that he can get rid of the programmable matter with a bunch of technobabble. And after that, she says, "Okay, that's cool. You go ahead and work on that." And then she says, "Let's put the ship in academy mode," which is like training mode. So Jaden, he starts having a hard time with Ozem Hadar, because he's like, "Oh, no blood. I don't know if I can do blood. Ooh, it's so gross." And they end up pulling the thing from the side of her side. And he like almost passes out, but then he gets through it. Sam tells Jaden that she can work faster than him, and that they all have to work together essentially. So while Caleb and Sam work on figuring out an algorithm to be able to take down the programmable matter off the ship, Darem and Genesis are going to go out Darem's going to go out onto the hull of the ship and scan the matter to get its frequency or something. And Genesis is going to like walk him through it inside. Which Darem, he shows what he really looks like, which is this. It's like really bad makeup. He's blue, not red. But that's just the lights. Which he's like, "Oh, I don't want you to fall in love with me because of the way I look." And it's like, "You're a scary alien, man. I don't think anybody's gonna fall in love with you, boy." Anyway, so he goes out. He's like, I can survive in space for like 8 minutes. And he slowly begins to walk out onto the ship, which means that he's definitely going to come up against a situation where he's running out of time and they're going to have to save him, which they do. There's all sorts of like forced drama, but it's really not threatening at all. Darem, he makes it back inside the ship without he starts getting all cold and stuff. And they're like, "Oh no, his temperature is going low." And it's like, well, maybe in the 8 minutes he should have worked a little faster. But they end up getting him in, no problem, with the help of the doctor. And they save his life just in time. And by the time he gets back inside, Caleb has the thing to be able to stop the programmable matter. And the captain, Mushmouth, she fakes, because the ship is in academy mode, they run like a simulation program that tells everybody within engineering that the ship is about to blow up for some reason. There's a warp core breach or something, and the ship's about to break up, which Braca believes. He transports off the ship, and then the matter is stopped, and then Captain Mushmouth orders that his ship to be destroyed. So he sees all this. Oh, they save Ozem Hadar. Oh, okay, so they blow up his ship, but he teleports back on, and he holds a gun to Caleb's neck, and comes in, holds Caleb hostage. They get reacquainted, and Caleb steals his gun. Then he doesn't use it, and they fist fight. Then the matter is stopped, and they blow up Braca's ship. He gets away in like an escape pod. Everybody's happy. Everything's fine. They make it to Earth. And this stupid song by Rufus Wainwright called San Francisco, parentheses, "Be sure to wear flowers in your hair," which I'm sure it's a nice song, but they play it as if it's like meaningful or something and powerful. And then as they're playing this song, they're panning across like all the different students, and it gets to, oh man, I'm probably gonna miss it. Okay, well, this is as good as I'll get it. Off to the right here is a female Chironian, who, again, if you know anything about Star Trek, the Chironians were a species that had, half of them had black on the right and white on the left, and the other half had black on the left and white on the right. And there were literally only two of them. For 50,000 years, they fought until they eradicated everybody except for two. One was black on one side and white on the other. The other one was white on one side and black on the other. And they transported down to their planet at the end of the episode, and they killed each other. They both died. The race is gone. There's no more of them. So how, in the 9 hells, is there a woman, black and white lady? That means there's more of them. 1,000 years later. Which doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid. It's like they put it in there because, oh, you remember Star Trek, right? Well, it doesn't fit. It's stupid. I'm sorry, it's stupid. Or anybody who likes that, you're liking something that is just a dumb thing. And I understand you can bring things back. It's sci-fi. If you don't see, two people actually die, then you can have the excuse that, well, they're not really gone and you can bring them back. But Star Trek, it's all based on rules, and you gotta follow those rules, because if you don't, the integrity of the show breaks down. And this is the first episode of a brand new show, and you've already lost the integrity of what came before. Which, Kurtzman Trek has been doing that for the past 10 years or so. Anyway, so the Athena, it finally lands there in San Francisco, and Caleb is in Captain Mushmouth's office or something on Earth, and she says that he should be expelled because he hacked the system and brought Braca to them, but that he won't be because he showed potential and leadership when they were attacked. So he's basically let off the hook with no real consequences, and he gets the choice to either stay or leave. And basically nothing happens to him. So they kind of have this heart-to-heart, and she likens Caleb to her late son who died in the burn. She looks at him like a son, Caleb. And she's like, I'll help you find your mom if you stay, but if you don't, you'll just leave and you'll go out into the galaxy and nothing will happen to you. So he chooses to stay as like a second chance, and thankfully this is where the episode ends, because it's just so nothing. Like, I know a lot happened and they're introducing characters, but like none of the characters are really that interesting. They're all new people, they're all young, and they all act like modern day young people. And it's just not, it doesn't feel like Star Trek to me. None of this does. It feels like 90210 or, One Tree Hill or something. It just doesn't feel like Star Trek, and I don't like that. I wish, honestly, that they would go back to Star Trek that was written by people who, they wanted to keep their stories that made sense with everything that came before and everything that comes after. They have this coherent thing, and I just don't think they're doing that. I think they're writing as if there's this brand new audience of young people who wants to watch, but there's not. Those people do not exist. The new audience that they hope to get, again, doesn't exist. Never mind where it says Prism Lens. That's just the new program I'm using. But anyway, I've heard that there's a resurgence of people of younger people, I guess, finding Star Trek clips from like The Next Generation and Voyager and Deep Space Nine. And it's like, that's interesting because they're finding it that way. But how many of those people are going on to watch Strange New Worlds or Lower Decks or any of the other shows? Not a lot. And I guarantee you, with this show, ratings are going to drop as the rest of the show goes on. And that's terrible, because I would love for this show to do great, but I don't think it will. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed me bloviating about this show. I will be back. I'm glad to be back now, doing this show again, because I got out of it for a while, and I appreciate anybody who's stuck with me and decides to watch all my stuff. This is basically just a hobby for me. I'm not in it for money or fame or anything like that. I just like talking about Star Trek and other things. So again, I thank you for watching, and until the next episode, which I'll have to do that next episode next, but I'm probably going to wait till next week to do it, because this was a slog, man. But anyway, look for my next episode coming out next week, and until then, live long and Qapla'.